A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Last time we were discussing the subject of taqwa. But since in the meantime, about 3-4 weeks, we have not been able to discuss this. Therefore, I will recapitulate very briefly. I'll try to be very brief, and I will not go into details, but to put the things in proper frame perspective, I'll just mention these things. These are the root meanings of taqwa, and then our main concentration, main center of our discussion, focus of our discussion, as I had mentioned last time, is haqqa tuqatihi. So we have to see what is the haqq of taqwa. That in fact led me to go into various details. Now, this word, as you see, is variously translated. There are many meanings, but I will be concentrating only on three aspects of taqwa: consciousness, piety, and fear. Usually people take one translation and they start fighting on that now it means fear. There are different aspects, and I'll try to cover only these three. There are others also, other aspects also. Now, in consciousness, so far as consciousness is concerned, under consciousness, we had seen that there are different aspects of consciousness, which is part of taqwa. Consciousness translated as taqwa has different aspects. One is intelligence, other is cognition, and yet the other is connectivity. So connectivity, intelligence, and cognitions. These are three important elements of consciousness. Now, within connectivity, we are in fact talking about awareness. And within intelligence, we are talking about usage or use of input. For example, just an example, basarat, samat, 5 senses, physical senses. Then how the brain, how the mind uses, compiles this information input, and then how collates it, and then how it is presented. It is produced in the presentation form, which is presented to the sadr, to the head of the body, to the head of the thought process, to the mind, and then the sadr, which is the center of decision making, center of intelligence. It takes the decision. Then how sadr takes a decision? Sadr uses these aspects: fikr, zikr, aql, tadabbur. Sadr uses these things, and then it comes to decision making. Now, these are parts of intelligence. But when we are talking of intelligence, intelligence itself is of different types. For example, general intelligence, which is usually called IQ, and then the other is emotional intelligence, which is also called social intelligence. So under social intelligence, these aspects are covered: sapience, and there are then different aspects within sapience, and then sentience, feelings. The feelings come in the emotional intelligence as a part which is called sentience. And then the other part which I mentioned is cognition, intelligence, connectivity, and then cognition. Cognition has further different levels. It requires, what is cognition? It involves, it comprises attention, introspection, zikr, perception, and learning. Without learning, these things remain dormant. They remain in the darkness. So even if there is an idrak, but there is no learning, asma Adam, allama Adam asma kullaha. If he was not given that learning, the asma were there, everything was there, but without learning, we do not have a word. Then that learning part, the main function of the learning part covers everything else which we have discussed. That is, all these together, that is taqwa, shapes the intentional behavior, not just behavior, but the intentional behavior. Niyat, amal bin niyat. So this intention comes from cognition, and the cognition depends on intelligence, both parts of intelligence, and intelligence depends upon usage of the senses, and then it depends upon the level of connectivity with God. So here, whenever we are discussing taqwa, we are discussing it as taqwa of God, taqwa of Allah. We are talking of, in this segment, we are discussing consciousness of Allah. We have not gone to other parts, fear and other things. We are just concentrating on consciousness. Now, intentional behavior, then when we are discussing intentional behavior, then we have to try to understand it, and I will try to present it in some other way, in another form also, so that it becomes more clear. Evolution of consciousness is the greatest part of entire evolution in the universe. Cosmic evolution, biotic evolution, or every type of evolution, among all these evolutions, consciousness, evolution of consciousness is the most important part of evolution. And this, in fact, ultimately brought insan to the level of Adam, where all the features are upgraded. Now, moral evolution, when we are talking of moral consciousness, it means we are talking of moral evolution. And moral evolution is basically, we use the word moral consciousness, or just sometimes we say consciousness. Now, this I will re-explain in a different way. Consciousness, re-explain. General interpretation in Islamic literature, how consciousness is defined in Islamic literature. Now I am defining it from Islamic literature. There are other aspects like psychology, sciences, neurology, that we will sometimes refer when we go further. But how it is defined in Islamic literature? Taqwa in Islamic literature, in the beginning, I had referred to the root meaning, but now the general meaning which has been used in the Islamic literature. Taqwa has been used in the following senses: to preserve, to protect, to safeguard, to shield. In the Islamic perspective, in the Islamic literature, taqwa has been used in these senses, and there are others also. In the brackets, these are the names of the dictionaries. It has been defined as to preserve, to guard, to be cautious. Cautious of what? Cautious from sin. To be cautious from sin. I might commit a sin. I should not commit a sin. This is right, this is wrong. This is sinful, this is good. So this cautious, in that respect, one is to become conscious and then to become cautious. When one becomes cautious, it means he has adopted or he's adopting taqwa. But there is one more element which the lexicologists or the in the dictionary people, they have added to it, that it is extraordinary cautious, not ordinary cautious. That I am cautious that I should not commit the sin, but there are situations when one is surrounded by the satanic forces all around. There is invitation all around. There are subtle invitations. There is camouflage, as we find in the LGBT colors, in flags, in so many things. So one has to be extraordinarily cautious. One is extraordinarily cautious. Cautious means he is conscious in the sense of taqwa, conscious of not committing a sin. Now, one has not only to be cautious of not committing, but it contains two aspects together. That is commission of an act, and sometimes it is the omission of act which becomes taqwa. So these are two aspects. Commission of an act may be an act of taqwa, or commission of or omission of an act in certain cases may be an act of taqwa by omitting it. So commission and omission, both these meanings are involved in taqwa. From what? To commit something to save oneself from harm, or to omit something to save something from harm. For example, I omit drinking. I omit khamr to save myself from harm, physical harm, chemical harm, sinful harm. And there are certain things which by commission I try to save myself from this harm. I resist. I refuse. I commit certain act to block it. Then another meaning of taqwa is to be pious. What is piety? Piety is not just having some insignia somewhere. It is to remain careful of duties. Careful of duties, sabr. Everything yusabihun for lillah. They are careful to the minutest possible, considerable, possible calculation. One has to remain careful in duties, in tasbih, in sabr, and in salat, in salu, in doing something and in following something. That is piety. To be careful in performing duties to the minutest meticulous level of performance. Taqwa also means forbearance, fear, and abstinence. These are all from the Islamic literature. So many meanings. But when we are talking of taqwa in the context of Quran or in the context of Islamic literature, here I'm not discussing it in the context of psychology or other things at this point. Now, it particularly, I'm referring, taqwa refers to the fear of God, consciousness of God, piety for the sake of God, for protecting oneself, commission, omission, protecting oneself from displeasing Allah. This is the crux of all these meanings which we have discussed here in few words. What is taqwa? Taqwa is the fear of God for protecting oneself from displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I should not commit anything which displeases Allah. There are other interpretations under the same words and even under the shades of different words in different ways. Interpretations include God consciousness. Sometimes they use the word God consciousness. They use the word piety. They use the word fear of Allah. They use the word love of Allah. Sometimes you will find in certain translations or in tafasir, they say, I've just taken these and placed before you. Love of Allah is taqwa. And then self-restraint, to stop oneself from committing anything or from restraining oneself to do anything wrong. That self-restraint is taqwa, in one word. Then taqwa is sometimes translated as virtue. It has many meanings. We should not fight on one word. We should test, we should examine that what is the exact meaning of that word in that sentence, in that segment of the sentence, in that ayat, in the entire surah. And then being careful is also part of taqwa. Then knowing your place in the cosmos. I think this is something which needs explanation. You must have seen on the social media, on the internet, sometimes some people have shared those videos or those pictures with you that they show the entire, for example, planet, then the galaxy, solar system, the galaxies and the cosmos, they show it as a dot. That the entire universe is like a dot, and they go on zooming it. When you zoom it, it shows different parts of the universe. When you zoom it further, it shows different galaxies. When you zoom it further, then it may concentrate on solar system. When you zoom it further, you see the earth as a dot. And when you zoom it further, you see the oceans, you see the deserts. Now, why I said this? This was just to explain this part. What does that mean? That when we find that the position of our entire earth, all the oceans, all the deserts, as compared to the solar system, as compared to the galaxy, as compared to the entire universe, is even less than the minutest dot. So small. We can't see with naked eye. We can't see it with microscope unless we zoom it further and further and further. So in that context, what is the position of human being? Almost nothing. And the Quran reminds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I created you, and there has been a period on you, over you, when you are nothing. La TAQWA shay'an. And from that, ex nihilo, I created you as shay'an. Then I created you turaban. I evolved you as turaban. I evolved you as tinan. I evolved you as so many stages, and then nutfan. So what is my total volume or position or my dimensions in this entire universe? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, have you considered what your position, what you are, how you are created? The understanding of this thing, knowledge of this thing, what is my place in this entire cosmos, and what is the position of this cosmos before God? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that all these 7 heavens, when I'll bring Qiyamah, they will be just like a hard disk in my hand, on just one hard disk, on one drive, on one USB, not more than that. So in this situation, if somebody understands his own position vis-a-vis the planet, vis-a-vis the solar system, vis-a-vis the galaxy, vis-a-vis the universe, vis-a-vis the creator of the universe, and then he bows down with all humbleness, with all humility, prostrates before God. I'm nothing. I'm nothing without you. La hawla wa la quwwat. I don't have any power. It's all you. You stirred me to life. You put life in me. You gave me the matter. You made me a shay. I am nothing. This feeling, knowing your place before God, this is taqwa. I have no position without him. Ibrahim alayhi salam said, I can't even think without him. I can't laugh without him. I can't smile without him. I can't cry or weep without him. Science also says the same thing. Descartes said, I can't think like this. And then this is most important. That is why I placed it in this color. Then there is another meaning, that is protect oneself. I've already discussed. Protect oneself what? Protect oneself from the wrath of Allah. Here, this also needs explanation. This does not mean that Allah is going to give azab to anybody without any reason. It means that he is Rahim, he is Ghafoor, he is Sattar, he is Rahman, he is Rahim. But if somebody goes to displeasing him, then he should be cautious. Then the taqwa requires to understand and believe that he can take to account. And when he can take to account, it's not just he will prepare the book, but he can punish also. This is included as the part of taqwa. Protect oneself from the wrath of Allah. Wrath of Allah on what? Displeasing him, that the account will be taken and he can punish. And how can I protect myself? By not indulging in things that Allah forbids. Now, this is the crux of one of the important meanings of taqwa. If we can understand this, then we will not commit a sin. We will not commit anything wrong. But this requires that we should understand that Allah is seeing. He is there. He is with us all the time. He is recording. And then there is another aspect. Some people have translated taqwa as the high state of mind. It is not just the sama and basar. It is not just the qalb. It is not just the sadr. It is not just the cognition or the intelligence, but it comprises everything which takes one to the high state of mind where he feels that Allah is Yahul ben al mar'i wa qalbi. He exists before my thinking, before my mind. That is taqwa. There cannot be ihsan without taqwa. Ihsan is that I see Allah, or Allah is seeing me. It cannot be without taqwa. And taqwa cannot be without ihsan. So this is the high state of mind. When all the time one has a feeling that this phrase is there, Yahul ben al mar'i wa qalbihi, he is there between myself and my own thinking. This is the high state of mind. This does not require any chilla or any muraqabah. This is just a matter of understanding, which keeps one conscious. If one understands it, only then one can keep oneself conscious all the time, keeps one conscious of Allah's presence, ihsan. Without this feeling, without this understanding, one cannot have the perception of presence of Allah and his knowledge. This is linked to knowledge. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allama Adam asma'a kullaha? He wanted to give him so that he feels, so that he has the awe of the entire power of creation and maintenance, uluhiyat and rububiyat, the lordship of Allah in the entire universe, so that he sees the works, understands the works, that these are the works of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are reflected in every ism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which reflects the aspects of works of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqwa, then, when one has this state of mind, high state of mind, it motivates. Taqwa motivates. Motivates to what? To perform righteous deeds. You will find that at all the places, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes any promise, sometimes he makes some gives some instructions, makes some promises, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells something, and at that time he says that amanu along with amalu salihin, salih amal, righteous deeds, good work. This is all connected with that. If one, for example, claims that I have a high state of mind, I get tipsy when I'm in muraqabah, but it does not motivate him for the good deed or the amal salih, it means he has no taqwa. Surely he has no taqwa. And another aspect of the same coin is, these are two aspects, two sides of the same coin, to do good and to save oneself from the bad, or to forbid others from this bad thing. So perform good deeds and avoid forbidden activities. If these two things are done, if somebody is motivated to do these things, these are the sign of taqwa. And then that is the sign of high state of mind. Otherwise, there's no state of high state of mind. There's no taqwa if these two things are not done. What is the proof of taqwa? How can we find all these things? These are different things we have discussed. These are thousands of things which we are discussing, hundreds of thousands of pages written on that. But what is the proof of my taqwa? I claim it. I have many signs on my forehead. But is it taqwa? Proof of taqwa is the experience of awe, ihsan, experience of awe of God, experience, ihsan, experience of ihsan, experience of awe of God, which inspires person to be on guard, be cautious, be conscious, be dutiful, be careful. Inspires a person, as motivates a person, inspires a person to be on guard against wrong action. Are we all the time on guard against wrong action? Particularly in our offices, what is happening in the third world, particularly in the Muslim world, and particularly what they are doing? Are they on guard when these bribes are bribery is taking place? Other things are taking place, cruelty is taking place, injustice is taking place. They're not on guard. Inspires a person to be on guard against wrong action. And there is another aspect, there is other side of the coin also, and eager to act in service of God. It's not only that I'm sitting here, somebody will come begging and I will give him a charity. Charity demands deliver. Take the bag of flour or rice on your bag and deliver it to the needy, to the hungry, at their house, at their doorstep. They are eager for the service of God, not waiting for good deed to come to them. Well, they are active, proactive in the service of God. And this is the crux of Quranic philosophy. And this is for greater good, not common good. I'm not using the word common good. The Quran is using the word khair. And khair comes from falah. Falah, evolution is just a very, very small part of a falah. Falah is part of rububiyat. Rububiyat, falah, and falah is for khair, and khair is enveloped in rahmah. In rahmah, this is the philosophical model of Quran. So here, khair is greater good. It's not just common good. Common good could be between you and me, between two persons, within the group. This is our common good. This is our common interest. But greater good is above the common good. It is above the common interest. It goes beyond one's own person's own interest. It is for the greater good, whether I benefit or not, but the society, but the humanity, they benefit at large. That is called greater good. That is the meaning of khair. It is not just common good. It is greater good, and greater good not just of one community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the Quran, not only Ya ayyuhal mu'minun, but Ya ayyuhan nas, insan. And at some places, it is including as all other creations also. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown in Quran how he took revenge for violating the water rights of a camel. Well, this earth has been partitioned, made into sanctuaries for different animals, for different plants, different ecosystems, different habitats. They also have their own rights. So this greater good is for the entire creation, not just for one person or some people. So I think here I may stop, that it may, from here onwards, we'll be discussing some definitions given by some people that I'll discuss separately. Till here, it was general. And this next time when we discuss, this is the crux of the Quranic model with reference to taqwa. We'll start from here, but we will go to discuss some important definitions given by Ibn Abbas, Ibn Kasir, others, and then we'll go to the Quranic doctrine. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us. Shower us with your blessings. Increase our knowledge. Grant us forgiveness. And reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aishawani, our brother Osmani. Oh Allah, grant to all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, we know that there is no cure but yours. Oh Allah, grant them a cure that leaves no ailment or injury. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we have our brethren who are suffering from aggressive enemies, suffering and in complacent Muslim world. Oh Allah, grant them victory, heal their trauma, protect their helpless, and grant them lasting peace and prosperity. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.